The old countdown. All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of the OC Network. And today, for the original listeners out here, we have kind of our relaunch episode of Politics on a Plate. So we're going to get really political with this episode. And today we have Drew Murray, Philadelphia City Council at large. And for those of you that are in the Philadelphia region, election is coming up on Tuesday, November 7th. So make sure you get out there and vote, okay, guys? Drew, let's just hop into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, thank you. Number one, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
My first celebrity guest.
I don't know if I'm a celebrity. After November 7th, I will be, maybe. A local celebrity.
Local celebrity.
Well, you're a local celebrity in Philly. You really are.
You really
are.
You'll get a free beer. People.
But no, yeah, thank you for having me. So a little bit about myself. I live in Logan Square. If people don't know where that is, I say it's right near the Franklin Institute. The Logan Square neighborhood is Market to Spring Garden, Broad Street to the Schuylkill River.
Okay.
So I live there with my wife and two daughters. I've lived there for 19 years at this point in that house.
Okay, girl dad. All right.
So, and I come from, a lot of people's question is, why are you running for city council?
Yes.
And normally the answer is because I'm crazy. But
you have to be a politician.
the reason I come from the RCO Neighborhood Association world. So if you don't know what RCO is, or listeners don't, it's a registered community organization. In Philadelphia, RCOs/neighborhood associations have an actual role in development, in approval of variances.
Okay.
So if you want to build a project in Philly, one of your first stops is the neighborhood association.
Okay.
So I come from that world. I'm a board member of the Logan Square Neighborhood Association.
Yes.
Which is, again, where we just talked about. I was president of Logan Square Neighborhood Association for 3 years, which is basically the max you do.
You do, yeah.
Or was it? No, I was 4 years. I did an extra year.
Okay, he must really liked you.
You know what? No one wanted the job. So, it's being the head of an RCO is really hard. I said it's not a volunteer position. It's a part-time job. You just don't get paid. That is how much. It's like 10 hours a week.
All right.
Which when you have a full-time job,
that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's your second shift. Okay.
No, exactly. So, so I come from that RCO world. Again, president of LSNA for 4 years. I was just, and I'm still a delegate of the Philadelphia Crosstown Coalition, which is a coalition of RCOs from all around the city. And I was the chairman of that organization for 3 years. I did term out just in June.
Okay.
So,
of this year.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, just a couple months ago. I'm still a delegate on that board. I'm the president of the Friends of Cox Park. Which is a little tiny pocket park in Logan Square. For those who don't know,
is that the one that's near the Wawa? Am I thinking the 33 goes down the block?
No. I don't know. Are there any Wawas left in Philadelphia? They've all
at this point, there's a Wawa left. If you know where the Rodin Museum is, that's the only Wawa I know.
That's the only one that
that
is
still has
Logan
people.
Square. But no, Baldwin Park is near there, which is a really
that's what I'm
cool
thinking
park.
of.
Baldwin Park is right
okay.
there. Cox Park is a little tiny pocket park, unless you've been there or walked by it. And sometimes you may walk by it and not even notice. It's a beautiful little park at 22nd on Cherry Street between 21st and 22nd.
Okay. You know what?
You know where the Cherry Street Tavern is?
I do.
There you go. I didn't want to out you there.
No, I know where it's
that was a quick response.
I used to work at the Franklin Institute. You guys know what it is over there.
That was a very quick response.
I'm of drinking age.
So it's almost directly across the street from Cherry Street Tavern. Like a little bit like Cherry Street's right on the corner.
Yeah.
It's probably like 50 yards toward 21st Street on the southern side.
So it's not near the Giant. Like if you reach Giant, you're too far.
You're too far. Yeah, so go the other way.
So walk towards the Parkway.
No, now you got to go west east on Cherry.
Directions from me. Okay,
great. But that's okay.
I'll pull it up on Google Maps.
I'm also on the board of Center City District.
I love that.
So so we are in Center City District boundaries right now.
Yes.
On the Finance Council of the Cathedral Basilica of Saints Peter and Paul, which is my actual parish. A lot of people don't know that's an actual Catholic parish here in the city. I think that's it. I have a lot of jobs where I don't get paid any money.
I hear that. But you seem to be really tapped in. Yep. And being from the RCO, you say you manage like projects pretty much. And I know you're devoted to like park spaces, cultural enhancement. With you being so plugged in different areas, what have you learned from those experiences?
Sure. And I'm not managing projects, but like for an example, let's say let's say a big project is coming.
Okay.
2,000 Arch is a great example of a big project that's being done right now. It will be the Chubb headquarters when it's completed in, I think, 2 years.
Okay.
But that's a prime example. So in order for the developer, Parkway Corporation, to come in and build that project, one of their first steps was because they couldn't do it as of right. If something is zoned and there's no variance required, you can just build it, right?
Okay.
Let's say there's something is a townhome is in what's called an RSA 5 area. You can just go build it if you're building within the rights. If you need any sort of variance, then you do need to get an exception for that variance,
Okay.
and the first step is the RCO. So when 2000 Arch was getting built, they needed to get a variance, or in this case, they actually did it, not to get too complicated, they did it through an ordinance. What that means is the council, in my case, Council President Clark came to us and said, in order for them to do this project, I have to write legislation in order for it to be permittable. But I'm not writing that ordinance until you guys work out a deal amongst yourselves. So Parkway Corporation and Logan Square Neighborhood Association.
Okay.
So we had an agreement written, and they met with us probably. Parkway Corporation was great. They met with us and the neighbors probably like 10 times because it's a big project. And it's a big project, a tall building, 19 stories right next to townhomes that are only like 38 feet tall.
Yes.
So that's an example of what an RCO does.
Okay. Are you guys also tapped in with Parkway Council? I know they're getting ready to do a lot of, I guess, different activations on the Parkway, or even redesign it. What does that look like?
So over the years, yeah, we actually have a seat now on the Parkway Council. It's funny, when I first started back in 2015, one of my first stops was Parkway Council, and I said, you guys need to put us on the board. I said, if you want Council President Clark to listen to you, you need residents on that board, because I said, I'm like, everybody loves the institutions on the Parkway, the Franklin Institute. I said, but you don't vote. So Council President's going to listen to those who vote. And at first they said no. And then and then a couple of years later it was, well, we're going to give you it was kind of like a junior seat on the board. So, and they did that with a couple civics. And then just in the last year or two, the president who just finished at LSNA actually was able to get a full position on the Parkway Council. And yes, no, they have a new vision for the Parkway. And I know on Tuesday night at our board meeting, Logan Square Neighborhood Association, they are unveiling it. It may be unveiled, and there was an article in the paper today, I think. It may have already been unveiled, but it will be unveiled to the community, where the Parkway sits 100% within Logan Square Neighborhood Association.
Exactly, straight through.
So yeah, they're going to come talk to us. And I have numerous events that night, unfortunately, so I don't even know if I can go, but I'm going to at least stop in. But the Parkway is such an important area for my community, obviously, but for my community, the city of Philadelphia as a whole. I mean, look,
the cultural institutions.
all the cultural institutions. Calder's coming. The African American Museum is now coming there, which I love the design. It's going to be cool. You know, you drive by, it's just, well, where we're sitting, it's just around the corner.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't even know it's there. This is going to be this is a great location. It's right near Independence Hall, but on the Parkway, I think it's even going to be better. It's going to be if the design is as shown, and I think it's going to be close. It's going to be cool just to go to it. It reminds me of the African American Museum in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. I did read the article that just dropped where they're using half of that space to be also a hotel, if I'm correct. So the African American Museum will have their own building, and then it'll be a hotel right next to it.
Exactly. So the former Family Court building, which is already built, it's already on the Parkway. Family Court moved to Arch Street, like 16th.
Oh God, yeah. That new building.
God, 5 to 10 years ago. I
It
forget.
has to be. Yeah.
So it's been vacant for a while. So that in the Family Court building is where the hotel will go.
Okay.
And then in the open air lot that is north of the Free Library is where the African American Museum will go. So it's a great spot. I mean, obviously the tie-ins with the rest of the museums on the Parkway and the Free Library itself. I'm curious if they're actually going to connect the two, because I think that would be a good.
Yeah.
That would be a very
be
cool
great.
aspect. Will it happen? I don't know. I haven't seen the full plans there yet, but it's going to be a great spot for the African American Museum. I think it's going to be
For sure, because
very cool.
I don't think people even know that it's like right down the street. You know, working in this area, I've worked at the Museum of American Revolution, Franklin Institute, Art Museum. So I've been kind of jumping around a little bit. And when you come to Old City, it's all about Revolutionary period.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
it gets
absolutely, yeah.
lost. So
So you work your day job. You work at a lot of museums, then.
well, this is I actually work and record here,
Oh,
but
this is.
in my past life, as in a
Oh,
year
okay.
ago, I did a lot of museum
No, in
work.
my
so I'm
professional life,
excited.
I do work with the museum. So I
Oh,
work
great.
with the Museum of American Revolution for their collection storage area.
Really?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
I did that. I did that. If you've been in their collection storage area, the units that crank back and forth, have you seen that? I did
Yeah.
those.
Oh,
So
okay.
I designed and put those in.
Thank you so much. The Museum of the American Revolution has a very special place in my heart. Shout out to Scott and all the folks over there. They're doing great work. But I wanted to jump into some other stuff. Let's talk about crime.
Sure.
So crime has been going up since 2018. You say you're going to bring a unique perspective to all of this. What do you want to tackle? You mentioned like the dirt bikes and everything, the quality of living. What do you think is the most crucial point to kind of get the quality of living for Philadelphians to go up? Because I think
Sure.
there's a level of sadness personally amongst everybody.
And it's hard. Look, I'm always very honest with people. We can't legislate ourselves out of crime. There's nothing I can do on council to legislate anything that is going to, quote unquote, decrease crime and increase the quality of living, specifically in regard to crime. But, a couple things. I've never been shy in my unliking of our current district attorney. I don't think District Attorney Krasner is doing the job that he was elected to do. I will work with him, but I think he needs to be pressured to prosecute crime at all levels. I'm also, I'm very pro-police. I think we went through a lot of difficult times in Philadelphia with George Floyd and the riot. I call them riots here in Philadelphia. There were some bad things that happened. It started as, and I and my daughters, I remember the day when there was the march for George Floyd, and I brought my daughters to it because I thought it was important. I said, this is what we need to see. You need to peacefully protest, something horrible that did happen, absolutely. And then it turned, and I remember being on my deck and watching fires come up because of, the big fire I saw was at, one was at City Hall, and that was the one I saw. And a friend of mine, Fareed, actually, he was there, and I was texting him, and I'm like, "Are you still there?" It was the exact day when the riot started. He said, "Drew, I got out of there." He said it started getting bad. So back to the topic. We need to, in order to decrease crime, we need to get our police force back up to what it used to be. We're still about 1,000 short.
Okay.
Because we saw a lot of people, a lot of police officers. When you tell police officers we want to defund you, a lot of people are going to start leaving the force, and they did. And we can look at the drop numbers. We already can look into the future and say, okay, we know this is how many police officers we're gonna lose by retirement in the next few years. We need to bump up our recruitment, and that means we need to pay police officers more because I'm a free market capitalist. If we don't have enough men and women joining the force, then we're gonna have to increase the salaries in order to attract these young men and women to join the force. So I think one way is we got to bump up our recruitment of police because they're shorthanded right now.
They are shorthanded.
I mean, if you look, I'm in Center City. I'm very privileged to where I live. It's not a horrible, I don't hear gunshots at night, and I tell people that. So, and I also don't see police in my neighborhood. But we need to have police. We need to have police all over the city. But I understand at this point they're shorthanded. So they're in underserved communities where unfortunately people do hear gunshots every night. So I understand why they're being dispatched to other areas. But we do need police all over the city, and we need to prosecute crimes at every level. I don't want to go back to the days of mass incarceration, over incarceration. But right now, if someone walks into a Rite Aid and walks out with $499 worth of product, it's considered a summary offense. The police aren't going to do anything. The security guards there are not going to do anything. I've never remembered a time in Philadelphia, and I've lived in the Philadelphia area my entire life. It's a few times a week I'll be at a stoplight, and someone will just drive around me and drive through the stoplight. They might treat it as a stop sign, but oftentimes they'll go right through. You talked about the ATVs and dirt bikes. It's difficult, and everyone says, "What's your answer there?" And I'll be honest with you, my answer is I don't know.
Okay.
My answer is let's wait to see who the next police commissioner is. We don't know that yet. Especially, we all assumed Commissioner Outlaw was not going to stay just because when the next mayor comes in, it didn't matter what people thought of Commissioner Outlaw. They normally pick their own person. So, wait till the next commissioner comes in and come up with ideas. Right now, what we're what we're doing is not acceptable. Right now, it's lawlessness and it's dangerous. I was driving up Broad Street just the other day, and there were hundreds of illegal ATVs and dirt bikes going down. I was heading south. They were driving. I was driving north. They were heading south. And some people say, "Oh, that's not a big deal. You know, they're not hurting anybody." Well, number one, they're running red lights. Then, when there wasn't enough room on the southern side of Broad Street, they started coming down south on the north side. So I'm weaving in and out of. You know, I just stopped and let them go around me. So it isn't just innocent people having fun. I actually wrote a piece on my good friend was driving around the Art Museum Circle, and these ATVs and dirt bikes surrounded him, and one of the dirt bikes hit his car,
Oh wow.
and it was a little tap. He thought nothing of it, but the person on the dirt bike did think something of it and started chasing him. So he got to 22nd and Spring Garden, and he was at the light. The guys were chasing him, and the guy on the dirt bike pulls out a gun. And my friend thought he's just trying to scare me. You know, and it worked. He wasn't.
Yeah.
And then the guy on the dirt bike started shooting at my friend. Not shooting at tires, not doing, not trying to scare him. Shooting through, one bullet went through the passenger side window,
Wow.
past his nose, and out the other side. I mean, it turned dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's not the only instance. So, so go back to your original question. I'm sorry. Is
yeah,
we
it's
need to put pressure on a district attorney to prosecute crime at every level, because I call trickle up criminality. If you don't prosecute crimes at lower levels, then it's going to build up to and is one of the reasons I think why we have a murder rate that is so high. That is still almost double what it was in 2017, which is coincidentally the year prior to our current district attorney.
What about folks that are going to say, give them a park? Like, what if we just gave them a space? They can do all of these things, and then they'll have this recreational space.
Sure.
We did it for the skateboarders and the bikers. There's a park right across from the art museum. I forget the name of it, but it's right where that walk.
Payne Park, yeah.
Yes, Payne
yep.
Park. So,
Yep.
what for the folks that are going to say that? Like, what's your?
I think
is that
there's
okay?
two issues there. First and foremost, I don't think we ever reward illegal behavior.
Okay.
All right, so that's first and foremost. And again, and illegal behavior, it's not just that they're on the street; it's that they're running red lights. It's the fact that it does turn dangerous sometimes. So I don't think we should reward illegal behavior. But I'm willing to sit down with anybody and talk. Right? Let's talk. Not everyone on dirt bikes and ATVs are that person with a gun, and I would never think that. And not all of them do sit there and run red lights and cause havoc in our communities. So I'm willing to sit down with anyone, but the logistics of a park of that size that would be needed, I don't think you can do it in a city. The only place that I think would even be close to large enough would be somewhere like Belmont Plateau. And then if and I know this from being in sports my entire life in the city of Philadelphia, we don't have enough park and rec space already. So in order to take somewhere as large as like Belmont Plateau, we're going to take away baseball fields, football fields, these areas that are already used for recreational purposes and where we don't have enough of them. We do not have enough parks and rec facilities for our high schools. And I know that I went to St. Joe's Prep. My father was the athletic director. I remember when he was there, the challenges he had, because St. Joe's Prep is in the middle of North Philadelphia. They don't have fields. They don't have fields, right? Yeah. So we would go to Belmont Plateau. They do have a football practice facility now up near Temple, but the hardest part of my father's job was finding recreational, places to play the sports. Roman Catholic's another example. They right near the art museum, right near the skate park, is where they practice lacrosse and football. Exactly, yeah. And people and there's always been ideas, especially in our community, because that's Logan Square. Well, we should develop that. That's prime real estate. And I always push back, saying, well, then where's Roman going to go? Okay. They don't have any place to go. So the logistics, I think honestly, they might be too challenging to put a park because it's too big. But I'm always willing to talk. Absolutely, I'm not going to just say no way. But at the same time, you know what? Stop doing the illegal activity and then let's talk. Because as long as they do illegal activity, then it's the same thing. And I'm a bicyclist. I always say, you want more bike lanes? Then start following the rules of the road. Okay. And I think we need a lot more bike lanes.
I'm a cyclist myself.
I'm a cyclist, yeah. But it drives me crazy. And as a cyclist, when I come to a stop sign, I stop. When I come to a red light, I stop and don't move until it's green. The majority of bicyclists don't, and I am the bicyclist, so I'm part of that community. Yeah. But we got sidetracked. But it's the same thing there. Like, should we keep giving more bike lanes, which I think we absolutely need and is good for traffic. It's good for our environment. If people keep breaking the law.
I mean, you got me thinking. I'm a city girl, so for me, I'm like, I drive and I bike, and I'm like, how many times have I been on the bike and I've kept going past the red light? I'm not going on.
Did I out you?
I mean,
I outed you. I'm
listen,
sorry.
I gotta get somewhere like everybody else. But I'm just curious of like where my mind is going. How does something go from being like this is just city culture, it is what it is. Philly is a gritty city to being criminal, and how do you, I would say, appropriately criminalize or punish the person? Because I think a lot of people's fear is it is an ATV. Like, are you gonna do they go to jail? Do they get a citation? I remember when we decriminalized weed, and I got a couple of citations. They called me to $25. It is what it is. Like, I'm curious. Like, what will that look like? 'Cause I think a lot of people are maybe just not afraid, but what is the crime for doing the ATV?
Sure. Well, look, it's anything. We start with a bike. Do I think you should, if someone runs a red light on a bike, I think we should pull that person over and give that person a citation, whatever that fine is. I don't know if it's $50 or $100. Same thing. Do I want to throw someone in jail because they're on an ATV? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Should we fine them? Yes. Okay. Absolutely. We should absolutely fine them. And honestly, if they do it twice, we take their ATV.
Okay.
And we destroy it.
And like send it to the pound.
Send it to the pound. They did it in New York. Yeah, you want to,
That's an option.
It's like we warned you, we gave you a fine, and you did it again. So now we're taking your dirt bike or your ATV, because it is illegal. It's illegal even to drive them on the street, right? It's not illegal to have one sitting in your garage, but obviously, if you have one sitting in your garage,
you're probably on the street.
You're probably on the street because unless you have a trailer that you could pull it, and that goes back to the same thing with the park. And I tell everyone, and I forgot to say, how do they get from wherever they are to this park? Unless they have a trailer, and not many of us in Philadelphia have a parking spot for a trailer.
Hardly have garages.
Yeah, they hardly have garages. So how are they going to get to that park? There are logistical issues that people just don't kind of fully think through. And I've said that to someone. I said, well, it'll be like we could have places for them to store their ATVs there. So then it's even how much space you're going to need now that you're going to literally need parking spaces. And then who pays for that? I mean, if you do have a quote unquote parking space, let's say we did the park, and you need a parking space, you should have to pay for it, right? Okay. So, then and how is that going to get funded? So, there's a lot of questions about that park. But back to, I don't want to put people in jail for riding a dirt bike unless it gets super dangerous. But look, think about it this way. What if they are running a red light and they kill somebody?
That's true.
They go to jail. That's manslaughter. They're doing something illegally. And it can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not crazy to think. I mean, I was walking at 20th and Arch a few years. This was years ago. And I'm crossing with my daughters. They were real young at that point. And all of a sudden, I heard it, and I look up, and if I kept walking, they would have come. They absolutely would have hit us. Because I pushed my daughters back, and then I kind of gave them, like, what are you doing? Yeah. And they spit on me. So,
Jesus Christ. Wow. Rough city.
No, so it's not this innocent fun that they're having. And I tell people that all the time. It's not. When you're running red lights on an ATV, if you go down on a dirt bike down the street and you stop at a red light and stay, that's innocent fun. If you're running red lights, if you're spitting on people, if you come in contact with a car, and this could be, I'm sure that there are very few cases of this, and you're pulling out a gun, that's a problem. Wow. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
So
I've only ever admired them. I've always thought like how we just had the naked bike race. Maybe they can come together and do something like that, where it's like I'm just thinking.
I don't mind the naked bike race, but
I'm thinking like if you block off the streets or whatever. I guess I want to leave space for folks.
No, and that's a good idea. Maybe you have that once a year, but
yeah.
But here's the thing, I don't know if it would work.
Okay.
Because I think part of the thrill is that they're doing something that's illegal. They're talented. I mean, what they're doing on those bikes, I look at it and I said, these are extremely talented individuals.
Yeah,
I could
popping
never
a wheelie on an ATV is hard.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't do it. I can't pop a wheel on my bike,
literally.
Let alone an ATV or a dirt bike. I think part of the thrill is that they are doing something illegal. So if we did have a park for them, yes, absolutely, some law-abiding citizens will go to that park and they'll utilize it, and it'll be great.
Yeah,
but I don't see it solving the problem. I think you will still have those people who are like, I like the thrill of doing something illegal. I like the thrill of going through the red lights.
And they come in mass. I just think like when I see them, if I'm waiting for the bus and they come down their procession, I'm like, it's kind of hard to police that if it's a mixture of cyclists, people who are on electric bikes, then you have like the actual ATVs, and it's like 50 people. Like, how do you like herd those people together?
No, and it's tough. And guess what? You know what
You
I saw?
can't.
You know
Yeah.
what I saw? It was 2 weeks ago. There was a dune buggy. I don't even know if dune buggies are legal or not. But the dune buggy was the one coming down the wrong way, and I had to kind of swerve over and stop. Sitting in the passenger seat of that dune buggy was about, I'm guessing, estimating, about 5-year-old kid.
Oh wow.
So the fact that that person, that adult in the driver's seat, is putting that child in danger to me is deplorable. But then what I'm thinking, so what if we do start chasing them? We're putting children's lives at risk. And some of the kids on these ATVs and dirt bikes, they
They're
are
young.
kids.
Yeah,
They
they're
are
really
kids.
young. Yeah.
Now, there's always adults leading them, and I look at those adults, and I think it's deplorable that they're doing that with these children because they are putting them at risk. It is dangerous. They go running through those red lights. It's inevitable that there's going to be accidents.
Yeah.
And if you're on an ATV or dirt bike and you get in an accident with a car, or even, honestly, even a person, a pedestrian, it's a dangerous, dangerous situation that they're putting children in. So,
And car insurance is too expensive in the city.
yeah.
Unrelated.
That's
Just
no, 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 no.
unrelated.
I pay car insurance, and yes, it is.
It's pretty expensive. But speaking of children, let's talk about this soda tax. So refresh my memory, guys. When the soda tax was introduced, this was Mayor Kinney. From my understanding, it was a tax that would go to kindergarten. Am I understanding that
That's
correct?
part of it. That is part of it. So
Okay.
it's the rebuild program. So it goes to a universal. It goes to a couple things. One is a universal pre-K program,
Okay.
meaning every child in the city of Philadelphia has access to a pre-K program. And then the second part is rebuild, which is parks and recreation. So part of the soda tax does go to building new, or I actually just might be rehabilitating existing parks and existing recreation centers
Okay.
in the city. So and there might even be an aspect of libraries. I'm not positive of that, but I am 100% for those programs. I'm universal pre-K. That's not a really Republican thing to say, but I think we have to educate our children going prior to kindergarten. My children were lucky. I read to them every night. My wife read to them every night. They could read before entering kindergarten. They also went to a Montessori school, so they went into kindergarten knowing how to read. Not all children are that lucky, and not if you have a single family, a mother who was working all day and possibly even all night, and a single family home. They might not have the ability to do that. So we need to educate our children. They need to, going into kindergarten, they need to know how to read and write. Because if they can't, they're going to be behind. And you look at it, you can never catch up. But if we can get them learning to read and write prior to kindergarten, then it's going to solve a lot of the issues that we have. So I'm for the funding of that program. I'm a Parks and Rec guy.
Okay.
I think every child in the city should be able to walk to a Parks and Rec center within a 5-minute walk from their house.
I do agree with that.
And a well-maintained parks and rec center. And a lot of our parks and rec centers, a lot of our parks and our rec centers are not well-maintained. I'm 100% for the program. I just don't want to fund it through the soda tax because we are just overtaxed in the city over and over again. The soda tax, I think we all thought it was going to be a few pennies on top of
It's a lot.
soda. It's a lot. It adds like 25, 30, 40, 50%,
It's on juice too. I mean, I'm not a soda drinker,
Exactly,
but
yeah.
I come from a household that drinks soda, and like, my God, like if I was a soda drinker, it would make me not a soda drinker because it just costs way too much.
It's
and
too much, and you're right.
Everything's already gone
And it's
up.
sweetened beverages. It's not just soda.
Yeah,
So it's Gatorade. It's all
yeah.
these things that are,
Like,
you still should
can't even get a
drink
Minute
in
Maid.
moderation. But I wasn't necessarily opposed to the tax in the beginning. When I ran in 2019, I ran for the same position.
Okay.
When I went around the city, I learned and I saw who the soda tax was affecting the most. Someone like me who has a car, who actually, I grew up in the main line, so I go see my family a lot. I do buy my sweetened beverages in the city, but I can,
You can go
when I'm
to
out there,
the county.
I can go there. Or if I live on City Line Avenue, I can just jump on the other side, and I can buy my sweetened beverages there. And by the way, once I'm there, I might as well buy other things because it's less expensive in the suburbs. Those who can't do that are people who are landlocked in underserved communities in Philadelphia, who are still going to buy their sweetened beverages. So I looked at it, I said, this tax that we put that we implemented, it's hurting the very people that it's supposed to help. The underserved communities and those landlocked communities are the ones who are paying for much of that sweetened beverage tax.
Yeah.
So it's both. I don't think we should tax as high as we do, and it also hurt businesses. There was a ShopRite that had to close because it was right near City Line Avenue. So everyone's like, why am I going? If I'm driving to ShopRite in West Philadelphia, and I can drive 5 more minutes and go into to Lower Merion Township, and buy all my food there, then why don't I? And it's true. You're saving that little extra gas is going to be more than paid for by crossing City Line Avenue to buy your sweetened beverages and other
Everything
things
else,
and
yeah.
everything else while you're there. So I am opposed to the soda tax, but I am not opposed to what it funds, and we can find those funds elsewhere.
Like
We can find them. So I'm a big thing that I'm a proponent for is zero-based accounting. Right now, if you have a department, and this is most municipalities, you have your budget. Let's say it's $100,000 this year. Most departments are much higher than that. What they normally do when they redo their budget, they say, okay, I had $100,000 last year. Cost of living went up about 3%. I'm going to ask for a $103,000 budget. That's normally how it works, and typically it's approved. I want to go to what's called a zero-based budgeting system, and you need to show what that budget is. You want 103,000? Okay, what is that 103,000 going toward? It's not. This is not rocket science. A lot of people, in fact, Alan Dom, when he was a council member, advocated for this, and that's where you find waste. There's waste in all municipalities. There's waste in businesses, but that's where you can find the waste. So I think if we did that, we could find the funding somewhere. And the good thing there is it's a broad-based tax. It's a tax. Look, educating our children is something that we should all be putting money toward, not just people who drink soda. Our Parks and Rec Center should be something that we all put money toward. So a broad-based tax, not just those who drink soda. So we can find the waste. And again, I tell people, it's not going to happen overnight. So let's just start bringing down the soda tax, decreasing it. So that way we can't do any of this overnight. And I'm a proponent of lowering the wage tax as well. And everyone says, we can't do it overnight. It's got to be a little bit of a time because we have programs, we have city services that need to be budgeted for. So we can't just say, we can't cut the wage tax in half tomorrow. And I would never say that.
Yeah.
Soda tax, wage tax, real estate transfer tax is another thing. We got to start lowering these things little by little every year, so more businesses and more residents want to be here. We want to attract the businesses, and we want residents to come back. We are now losing population for the first time in 20 years, so we need to bump it back up. And if you look at it, it's because we were one of the most highest taxed cities of the large cities in this country.
I mean, I believe it. I feel like I can't leave the house without spending $200.
Yeah.
Just in
Oh,
general.
yeah, absolutely.
Like I can't.
Well, just look at, and that's the thing. There's never a temporary tax. Mayor Nutter, who I think was a very good mayor, he put a temporary tax. We went from 7%. Like right now, you have 6% sales tax. Philadelphia always added 1% more, and then under the Nutter administration, he added another temporary 1%. So that's why we're at 8. Taxes are never temporary. Mayor Nutter has not been mayor for. I think that was about 10 years ago that Mayor Nutter had done that, and it's still that temporary tax is still there. We need to go the other way.
Okay. Speaking of Mayor Nutter, shout out to AmeriCorps Vistas. In 2012, I was AmeriCorps Vista in Mayor Nutter's administration, and I did some work in the Kensington area. So I wanted to touch on your perspectives of not having a no safe injection site. I know it's a really hot topic. I'm under the belief, and this is probably not even true. I'm only 29 years old, but when I was in King Sesson, it was already bad. I feel like now, fast forward almost 10 years later, it's gotten worse. But has it always been that way? Can you just speak to maybe the history
Kensington used
of
to
Kensington?
Be, it used to be a great and safe neighborhood. It's still a great neighborhood. It's just we have an open air drug market that is basically there's no law, no laws being enforced there. So I believe addiction is a disease, and we need to help those people who are under the cycle of addiction. We need to get them into treatment centers. This money needs to come from a federal and state level. It's not Philadelphia. We didn't cause this crisis, but we're certainly not doing anything to help Kensington. So federal and state money has to come in to get these people into treatment centers. I do not believe in safe injection sites.
Okay, let's get
for
into
for a few reasons. Number one, I think it normalizes drug use. And I've talked to addicts, former addicts. They still say I'm an addict. I'm just a recovering addict.
Okay.
They said if for those who have recovered, they said if I had safe injection sites, I'd be dead right now. Because I would have thought, oh, it's normal. They're bringing me into a place, and I can legally inject these drugs, these illegal drugs, into into my body, and there's no such thing as a safe injection site because guess what? Heroin is never safe. It will kill you one day. If you don't stop taking heroin, it will kill you.
I guess when I think of safe, I'm thinking like there's a doctor or nurses or someone's
Sure.
in the room who is like, I know it's heroin and it's not bad. I mean, it's bad, it's scary, and they're just giving you, I guess, an appropriate amount of it. I can see how that could be perceived as like you are pacifying this behavior. But I think I just come from the school of thought of just like, if someone's going to do drugs, they're going to do it. And I'm not necessarily anti safe injection sites. I guess I'm just whenever I'm on a 3 bus and it's going through that area,
Sure.
I'm just like, it's just happening. Even on the L, it's just happening, and I don't know. Maybe I'm being superficial. I just don't want to see it.
It is happening, and it's funny. People from around the country text me, like, Drew, is Kensington as bad as they say?
There's
Or
people
as
coming
they're
out of
shown?
the country to
I
see
said,
it.
absolutely. I said, it is that bad.
Exactly, yeah,
It is that. It is that scary. And look, I understand the harm reduction aspect. Save them. Save their life today so we can save them tomorrow. But these sites don't do that. If these, I don't think I would ever be in favor of a safe injection site, but people can come in. They're not forced into any sort of rehab. There's nothing. They can come in, they do the drugs, they leave. There's no rehab aspect component of it. And there's never been a study that shows, okay, this person went into a safe injection site and 18 months later was clean. He went in and we were able to save that person, and over time that person decided, I'm not going to do drugs. And the reason there's not a study about it is because it doesn't happen. These people are still doing drugs. They're not getting the help they need. And again, it normalizes it. And if it doesn't, again, I get it. Save them today in order to hopefully for them to get help tomorrow. But again, it's not happening. And then the second aspect of it is, who wants a safe injection site in their community? And let's be honest.
When they were they in South Philly and they started petitioning to get it out of their neighborhood, I took that kind of as like, I've been in South Philly. People are doing drugs in South Philly. I mean, maybe we need a different name. I'm always down for like, maybe this is like a PR thing. Change the presentation of
No,
it.
they did change the name. They went from safe injection site to harm reduction site. So they started doing that.
Still sounds
But no one's going to want it in their community. And I understand. And people say, well, maybe it should be, quote unquote, within a hospital. Number one, I don't think you're going to get people to go into a hospital to do this, but maybe I'm wrong. But no one's going to want it in a community. And the reason they're not going to want it is because those that are trapped in the cycle of addiction will go to these sites, for example. Who do you think are going to follow those people to the sites? The people who are dealing the drugs.
Okay.
It's going to happen. Supply and demand. If you know there's a safe injection site, where are you going to stand to get the best bang for your buck? Where are you going to spend your time? You're going to be right around the corner. You're going to be selling drugs. So do you want that in your community? Do you want people doing those drugs and then leaving and being in your community? I've never met a single person ever that has said yes. I'm sure they are. There are some that I would have it next door to my home, because it will be next door to someone's home. And it's funny. When I ran in 2019, it's part of my palm card. It's on my website. A woman who lives in Logan Square, who I will not name, came up to me. She's like, how can you be opposed to these sites? These are helping people. They're harm reduction. And I said to her, no one's going to want it in their community. I said, what's going to happen, the first one, and this was the time we thought the first one was going to be in Kensington. I was like, the first one's probably going to be in Kensington. The second one's probably going to be in South Philadelphia, where they tried to put it in the Constitution. I think it's called Constitution, the building itself. I said,
yeah.
I said, number 3 is probably going to be Logan Square. I said, we have a lot of drug use in Logan Square because we're stepping over needles. We can see it. I said, third one's going to be in Logan Square. And you know what her answer to me was? They'll never put it in Logan Square. We have children here. We have schools. And I said, you don't think that's the type of attitude people have. It's never going to happen in the Logan Square area of Philadelphia. It's going to happen in Kensington. And I said, I was actually offended. I said, there aren't schools and kids.
Children. I mean, that's
children in Kensington.
Bias, discrimination.
I said, well, no, I was offended for Kensington. I'm like, I said, clearly this person had never been to Kensington, because I've been to Kensington many times. There's plenty of kids. There are kids walking to school.
Kappa's over there.
Yeah, exactly. Stepping over needles, unfortunately, stepping over people to get to school. So, she didn't want it in her neighborhood. She thought it could never come to our neighborhood because their children and schools here. So that's
It's already here.
that's the attitude. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
already there. So no, I don't think safe injection sites. I don't think they're going to stop drug use. I don't think they're going to save in the long run. I don't think they're going to save people because you will eventually die. Again, I'm always open to listening, but I don't think anybody could ever convince me ever that a safe injection site could ever be okay. And again, I never want it next to my house. I have two daughters. I will never want it next to my house. So how could I ask someone to put it next to theirs?
Where would I want it? I mean, I would want it. I would want something somewhere because maybe I'm gonna read into the whole safe idea. What if when they're in these safe injection sites, what if they're giving them like the scientific amount of all I can think about is somehow they're still getting the drug. The stuff that's out on the street, do we know if it's pure? Do we know if it's mixed with other things? Like maybe that's where the idea of safe comes into
No,
play.
and it is. They'll test it. I don't think they regulate how much they put in, but I don't know. I believe they will test it, and obviously, if the person does overdose, they're there to give them Narcan. Again, I get it. I really do. I have a friend of mine whose son died, and he is 100% for them. And guess what? I understand that. If I had a child who died, that might change my mind. I mean, but, that's why. But we got to make these decisions based on what is best for those people trapped in the cycle of addiction. And I really don't believe it is what is best for them because you will. There is no such thing as safe injection. You will eventually die if you continue to take heroin.
All right. We're going to end it right there on the heroin conversation. I do want to just go right back to talking about school. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I've been following like the Masterman storyline and how they're going through all these changes with like the zip codes and letting different people into the school and how that may be affecting, I guess, the legacy of the school and even putting more pressure on the teachers and extending them to in different ways that they're just not used to. Can you talk to us about school choice for those who don't?
And
really
I'll
know
even
this?
start with that because I have a daughter who's a sophomore. So when we got the email, I was one of those parents who got the email the night before applications went out and said, we're completely changing the process of the magnet schools.
Okay.
My daughter, I hope my daughter won't listen to this because she'd get pissed off. I was talking about it, right? Her first choice was Science Leadership Academy. Science Leadership Academy is very close to our house. The type of learning is, my daughter is a self-proclaimed nerd. That's where she wanted to go. And we got that email. I said to my wife as soon as we got the email, I'm like, she's not going to get in. I said, because now it's not just based on merit. It's going to be part of a lottery system. So she'll qualify, but then her name's going to get picked out of a hat. The chances of her getting picked out of a hat is probably, less than 50%. Now, SLA was not, Science Leadership Academy was not part of the zip code process. But I said if one of the schools that she was applying to is in the zip code process, 19103 is not going to be one of those zip codes. So it was horrendous, in my opinion, what the school district did. Mostly because I understood the reasoning behind it to increase diversity in some of these magnet schools, but the fact that they did it the way they did it the night before with zero transparency was deplorable. I mean, I know so many parents, we were able to pivot because we were applying to other schools already, but I know a lot of parents who their kids work their tails off. Straight A students, and my daughter, by the way, is a straight A student. She should have gotten into She would have gotten into Science Leadership Academy. There were people who called me as an RCO leader. They were calling me saying, we need to take a position on this. Meaning some of the RCOs that I was leading, and we didn't. But there were stories that their child applied to 5 schools and got into 0. They moved. They're gone. They already left. So someone who was committed to the public school system in the city of Philadelphia left because there are community, there are neighborhood schools that that those people would not send their child to. They'd assume my kid's a straight A student, work their tail off. They're going to get into one of these great magnet schools, whether it's Masterman, whether it's Carver, whether it's Science Leadership Academy, and they didn't get into any, and they're gone. We lost those people. We lost them forever. To talk about school choice, I am absolutely for school choice. Children should not be, the school they go to, whether it's a good or bad school, should not be dictated by their zip code. And charter schools, that's what it gives people. It gives people a choice. There are good community schools. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. In fact, I live in one of the greatest catchments in the city of Philadelphia, in Greenfield. The grade school in my area is considered one of
the Greenfield's good. I'm familiar. Yeah,
it's one of the best in the state. Forget the city. But there are a lot of schools that are failing, and forget whose fault it is. We could probably debate that for hours whose fault that is, but we don't need the blame right now because that 5-year-old kid who's looking for a school can't wait for that school to get better. So that's what charter schools and look, charter schools, parochial schools, and independents all give that option. Obviously, the charter school being free is the best option for a lot of those kids. So I am for school choice. But I'm a big fan of public schools. I mean, my mother was a public school teacher way back in the day. My father taught at St. Joe's Prep. So, I'm a fan of teachers and I'm a fan of public schools. But, well, number one, traditional public schools, because people oftentimes don't remember and realize charter schools are public schools. They're just run in a different way. So I am for school choice.
Okay. Well, Drew, before we conclude here, do you have any final words for your supporters? I feel like, is that a way you would say to a politician? They're supporters? I feel like YouTube right now.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've already said my background. This is a general election, so I need both Republican supporters and Democrat supporters. Many articles have been written about me. I am the moderate. I used to be a Democrat. Most of my life, I was a Democrat. I changed in 2018, but that didn't mean I completely switched ideologies. I always say I used to be called a dino when I was a Democrat in name only, and now people call me a rhino, Republican in name only, because I am very much in the middle. I obviously lean right. I am absolutely a Republican, but I have the ability to look at both sides of an issue, whether it's Democrat or Republican. And a lot of times they shouldn't be Democrat or Republican. We should just have the issue what is best for the residents and citizens of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I have the ability to do that. And I'm also, we talked about my RCO leadership.
Yes.
When I'm elected to these RCOs, when I was elected the chairman of the Philadelphia Crosstown Coalition, I was probably the only Republican in the room. Maybe there was one or two others, but in a room of 40 people, there was probably 2 or 3 of us. But I was elected because people respect my leadership, they respect my pragmatism, and they understand that, I'm going to do what is best for the city of Philadelphia. I'm not going to do what's best for the Republican Party. I'm not doing what's best for the Democrat Party. I'm doing what is best for the citizens of Philadelphia, and that's the way I ran my RCO. It shouldn't be blue or red. It's what is best for the city of Philadelphia, and the fact that I'm elected to those to lead those RCOs is a reflection that I have the ability to work on both sides of the aisles. I have the ability to create these coalitions to get things done. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Part of my French, I just got to get shit done because
Period.
we got to get shit done.
We do. We got to clean it up around here.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Drew, so much. And hopefully everyone will come out on Tuesday, November 7th to cast their votes.
Or mail-in, by the way.
Or mail.
We're only about a month away from mail-ins going out.
Okay, yeah. Go to the post office. I love the post office personally. So thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you here again.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. Peace. Oh, man.